a pretty robust agenda, which is nothing new for us. Chief, you had it that you were going to talk about kind of the structure, but I'm happy to do it since you were limited. Unfortunately, we did not get any official athlete suggestions or nominations for athletes on council. So if anyone has any suggestions, we'll just kind of keep it open and rolling. We do want to make sure that they're a good fit for our council. So please, if you do have any, make sure to send them to Chief or I, and we'll kind of go through that process with the questionnaire and all of that. But until then, we don't just want to plug in.
Did I forget to send in Ariana's name?
I did not officially get anything. Did you send it to Chief?
I thought I did, but I may have forgot or thought I did. Forgot.
Okay. We had talked about it, but you didn't send me anything. So if you want to send me the athlete's name, maybe a little bit about them, and then how we can contact them,
Okay.
then we can look into that, and we'll have a little questionnaire thing that we'll send out to make sure that they're, interested and that they want to participate. Kind of what their schedule is in the sense of like, do they drive? These are the are the requirements to be on council, and just make sure that they're responsive in timing, communication, and that they really want to truly be involved.
Okay, I will do an official one to you.
Perfect. Cool. Any other questions on that, on the structure or whatnot? We have awesome regional coordinators in place. We're still looking at expanding a couple of those roles. But until then, we do have the Google Docs up, which we'll chat about a little bit later. And we're just kind of plugging along and getting all of the information out to everyone. Chief, do you want to talk a little bit about state conference and the debrief?
Sure. So hopefully people can hear me enough. So thank you to all of the state conference. I just wanted to talk about a little debrief about that event and get feedback so that we can have a successful state conference next year. And so on the agenda, let's just go through these. So if you have a question or comment about things, speak up. So location and timing. The location I thought was free, so that was good. But anyway, any feedback about the location or timing of the conference?
Can you guys all hear Chief?
Yes.
Barely.
Okay, so
That's tough.
any feedback on the location and timing of the conference?
I love the location.
Location was good.
Yeah.
I think the location was good.
Awesome. So location was great. What about timing?
I personally think it should be 6 months from the international. I know it was hard for me to go back and say, hey, I know I just went to this international conference. Can I go again to a different conference in a month? So if we had it like 6 months from the time of the international, it might be easier for departments to release more people.
Okay.
Both.
Good feedback. Anyone else have timing on that?
I ran into the same issue on the timing. It was tough for me to get away from the department in that close to international.
And for the east side people, timing's always that time of year is questionable because of the pass and stuff. So
Awesome. Jay, how did you guys feel about coming over this year and having it on this side of the state?
I didn't have any problems with it at all. Coming to the academy, the facility was good, and classes were good. Everything was good as far as that goes.
Okay.
I like the fact that it was at the academy and what we paid for it helped instead of just having to pay a hotel.
Yes, absolutely. Next on the list was food.
I thought it was fine because people got to pick what they wanted to eat or not versus having it catered and this is what you're eating.
Ellie, how did that work out working with Dennis as far as the billing and all the rest of it? Because I talked to him the next day and he seemed really confused about how it went.
Oh, well, I got an invoice from him, so, and we're
Okay.
paying it, so it went fine from our standards, but he did give me a call a couple days after and asked for the check, and I told him that, you know, our office is closed, but we're working on it, and it takes us at least 30 days to turn that around. So fine on the, I thought the ticketing system worked really well for us, because although we planned for 80, we only had to pay for those that, however many meals that we actually utilized, which was nice.
Yeah, and I will say that confused is his natural state, so it didn't surprise me that he was confused. And he didn't ask me about it again, so I figured it got handled.
Yeah, he called me and I called and left him a voicemail, but he never called me back. So I assume that he got the check.
That might have been when he talked to me was then. Okay, anyway, so it's all handled good.
Yes.
So if that's the case, that we only paid for 50 versus what you'd planned 80, I think that's way better. If you had had outside catering or anything, you would have had to pay for whatever you ordered.
Absolutely. Yes. So we did pay for everyone for like up to the 80 for like the coffee and the breakfast, because that was more of the catering style. But we did a ticketing system where we said you can expect up to this many, and then they collected it, counted all of the tickets, and then charged us per meal that we actually utilized, which was awesome. So worked really well for Special Olympics cost wise.
I think saving $5,000 on the hotel bill was nice too.
Absolutely. And we also didn't pay for AV. There was a lot of savings there. So it was great for the budget for sure. How did everyone feel that the general sessions versus the breakout? So I'm interested in two things here, the general flow of the conference, and then also the specific, like what everyone learned and like the topics.
Well, the class that I did was fantastic. So I don't know. I didn't hear anything else from anybody on their topics.
Yeah, and I liked Rex's class, but I think with his probably might have been a little bit more beneficial in like at the start for everybody in the general session, just because I know, okay, maybe it's just my department. I know there was a few people that were there for the first general session, but bailed and didn't go to the freaking breakouts.
Mm-hmm.
And
That doesn't surprise me.
if one of them would have stayed and listened to Rex, the person that I'm specifically thinking about, it might have had a bigger impact.
But what I would offer to that, Christy, and anybody else is, if you have somebody that needs to have that kind of a topic about command staff buy-in, Brian or I'll speak for Brian, either one of us would be happy to give them a call directly or sit down with them.
Anyone else?
I think for the general sessions, we need to keep a closer eye if we're going to do that general sessions again on the time, making sure we're staying with our time limits because it did run a little long. And I think we kept people in seats too long. They didn't get to get up and move enough, I don't think.
I agree.
Awesome. Erica, can you hear us now? Okay. Hopefully, looks like you should be able to hear us and speak on your own. So fingers crossed you do that. Anything about the awards ceremony?
A lot of awards, not many recipients.
Yep. So what can we do about that? How do we get more folks there?
I'm sure you sent an email out saying to the departments you're going to get awards, right?
Yep. Chief did individual emails to all of the chiefs that were on the list to get awards. We did e-blast and we also did personal outreach.
That is the $1 million question, literally, from a standpoint of why we're not hitting $1 million is just people don't get it or just don't want to get it or don't want to be bothered. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little help. We could probably, as the regional coordinators, be able to help that out and see why we're not getting the response back. And
Are you hear me now?
Yes, Eric, we hear you.
Sorry,
Woo!
I'm trying to figure out the phone car thing.
Oh, no, you're good. We're just talking about how to get more folks to state conference and just kind of debriefing the state conference a little bit.
Sure. Continue, and then I can jump in with feedback that I got from my session.
Awesome. Go ahead, Pat. What were you saying?
I think my biggest thing is maybe that's something with us regional coordinators that we ask and see, why we didn't have the people showing up for that, and that might be just over time getting it to be a thing to do.
And going on with what Pat said, I don't know how you guys are for the ones that didn't show up, how are you getting the trophies to them?
That's a good question. They're currently sitting in our office. So it would be wonderful if we can connect with the regional coordinators and they can hand deliver.
That's what I was going to suggest, even though it takes up more of our time, but we can hand deliver them. We can talk to them. Hey, we had the state conference this year. I noticed you didn't send a representative, so I'm here personally bringing this to you. And I think that would be a way to connect with them, so they'll see a face too instead of just an email.
Perfect.
Another option, Ellie, is I think the spring conference for WASPIC is again in Spokane. So if you want, and they're still around, I'll drive them over, and then Brian and I could track down each individual chief, even if it's just a couple of minutes of private conversation rather than handing them out in public, or maybe when we do when Brian does the liaison report on the last day of the conference, we could have them there, call everybody out at that point, and hand them out. A couple of options.
I like that idea. However, my concern would be, would those chiefs and sheriffs that were at state conference feel shafted that they're not getting recognition at WASPIC?
I would say
if they did, I'd say, hey, everybody got theirs at the state conference. These are the scraps or the leftovers.
and
Okay.
you would too.
Perfect.
Oh, hell yeah, I would.
We will create a list. We have a document of those that were not there, and so we will organize those and work on getting them out to the regional coordinators. And because it's plunge season, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to hand deliver, since staff will be going to most of those. So we'll get those to all the regional coordinators, and anything left over we'll get to WASPIC to do a final handout in the spring.
Hey, Ellie.
Great idea.
Hey, Ellie.
Yes.
Would it be really difficult to either do an online, when anybody registers online, could it also connect with them? Because I know that other than the few people that stopped and talked to me after my class, I didn't get any feedback on the breakout, like I said, unless somebody stopped and talked. So, I mean, I know if I'm having that problem, I'm imagining there's other people who do too. As far as, could we send that out and get all the questions you just asked us? Could we put something out just hey, if you register for the class, to where it sends them something to where they could answer those same questions you just asked us?
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. In the past, we very rarely get much participation, but I'm happy to at least try. Speaking of feedback, Eric, do you want to share what you received?
Yeah, so I don't have it directly in front of me, but from my recollection, I had done an interactive class with leadership, and I had, as part of the last thing in the class, was, hey, give me a couple quick tips and points of feedback so I know if I'm on the right track or not. And by and large, people liked the leadership stuff, but they would have preferred actually more related to being a successful agency coordinator. So I would want to, for our conference next year, make sure that we had some people that were running some rocking programs in there discussing tips and best practices, essentially, for running a torch run program at the agency level, more focused for our leadership.
And what I'll offer for that suggestion, Eric, is the thing that I did is great for new coordinators. And so maybe if you just want to take 5 minutes of my material on how to approach them and add to what you're talking about, give them a tip on, here's how you get your chief to even listen to you, and then here's how you do a successful program. Because I think that's a lot more valuable.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, they were just looking for a greater tie-in. I had a tie-in there, but they wanted more.
Can't say we're surprised though.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think this gives a really good outline of what kind of worked and what we can definitely improve on for next year. I will work on getting a survey created so that we can send it out to those folks who were present. And then we'll kind of move on to planning next year at a different time. I also agree that December is very challenging. However, also International Conference will be moving again back to September. So, always trying to plan. For me personally, doing it during plunge season was quite difficult. So hoping to do it again at a different time so that we can have a little bit more time to prepare. So any other thing on the state conference that anyone wants to share? Okay. Regional Coordinator Outreach. Chief, do you want to try to take this? Okay, I will share. So regional coordinators, how are you guys doing with the Google Docs? Can you, for the folks, the Steve, Pat, Christy, Jeannie, I think that's it for regional coordinators on the call. How are you guys doing with that? Does it make sense? Do you have trouble accessing it? Is it easy to use? Are you utilizing it?
I am. It depends on what I need off of it, but I did end up using something from
Oh. All right, go ahead, Christy.
I said I have it on my favorites bar, so I can get to it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm hoping most folks can see my screen. If not, we do record the calls and I'm sending them back out. But here is that 2019 LETR Google Doc. It has everything from the general LETR event registration form. It has the latest Guardian. It has that master spreadsheet, that 2019 master spreadsheet that hopefully everyone is utilizing. Everyone should have access to alter, change, write things in it, and we hope that you guys are doing that. All the tabs at the bottom are separated out by our regions for regional coordinators, so I'm hoping that that is helpful. We are working on getting phone numbers put in. Unfortunately, when WASPIC sent us the original list, it just didn't have those phone numbers. So Chief is reaching back out and we're trying to get all of that updated, but please let me know if you're having a hard time accessing it or just having issues. We go in, so the handbook is already in there, so please feel free to print that if needed. We also are going to be, so I added a Q1 document. This has everything that we're doing right now. So it has the Polar Plunge announcements, the sponsorship information, the LETR t-shirt contest, the old spaghetti factory flyer for Tippecop, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. So if any regional coordinators are having issues, please just feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to walk you through it. But we do spend time updating this and getting all the information to you so that you have those talking points and those documents to reach out to your agencies. So let me know. That being said, the goal is for every quarter, for whatever signature event we're doing, to have some sort of goal. This obviously is our big Polar Plunge season. So we would love for everyone to be reaching out to those agencies to communicate about the Polar Plunge. So we have some big stuff going on, especially in Seattle with the world record. So we'd love for you to be reaching out and getting those agencies involved. If you need specific talking points, I'll be putting the media blasts and all of that stuff in those Google Docs so that everyone, even on exec, has access to it. But I would love to see, you guys utilizing those documents, actually putting columns in there that says yes, I talked to this person, or, here's the new agency coordinator for here or whatnot, because then we'll go in and we utilize that when we send out our Guardian newsletter, which is going out next week. we go in and we make sure that we have all of those contacts updated in our list so that they get those communications. The other great thing would be to make sure that we're hitting all of those meetings, the chiefs and sheriffs meeting. I know, Pat, you just had a meeting, 2 weeks ago?
I did a chambers luncheon last week.
Awesome. Yeah, chambers luncheon. So I think, would it be beneficial if I created like a calendar that we could put in that Google Drive so folks can add those types of things so that we know when people are presenting to groups?
I think that'd be helpful. I'm doing a Rotary Club. I think it's this week. Hang on a second. I got to look at my calendar.
Yeah, I got to talk to my Kiwanis group Thursday to get some money for Hoop for Heroes.
Awesome. So I'll create a calendar and I'll put it in the Google Docs for everyone to update so that we know what groups we're already talking to. And then, possibly Rex and Chief, if you hear of those chiefs and sheriffs meetings, if you can go and add those in and then ping that regional coordinator so we can make sure that we really are covering all of those meetings.
Do they get offended when you show up at their meeting, or you have
So you need to make sure to get on their calendar first. So Rex, is there a list that we can utilize for that, or what's the best way to find all of these meetings?
Ask your local chief. And the reason I say that is because I don't think there's any place where they just put them all. I'm on the King County one because they hold them at the academy. And for Christy, the president of the King County, or the chair of the King County Association this year is Stephanie Bennett. And
Michelle.
Sorry, yeah, Michelle. Yeah, Stephanie's my attack officer. Yeah, Michelle. So all you have to do is reach out to Snohomish. I think it's Alana is her person. And then for any one of the others who wanted to ask, like up in Snow or Pierce or whatever, just ask your chief who the person is, and they'd be able to tell you. But I don't think there's any common collaborative, here's all the stuff place.
So if you needed help with the Pierce County or the sheriff's office, Snaza said he wants to get involved more, so
yeah,
we can tap that into that area.
And then of course Mason County, you got that, and Gary Simpson over in Kitsap, and Ron Cameron's the undersheriff in Clallam. He's the guy you want to talk to. So there are folks out there, and I know I'm sure Jay knows all the bodies over there.
I have a lot of those contacts as well, and they are on the LETR's master spreadsheet in the Google Docs. But I will go ahead and create that calendar, and then folks can start adding to there. Is it a fair goal to have everyone, all the regional coordinators, present to one meeting by the end of the quarter?
By the end of the quarter might be a little aggressive, considering getting outreach and stuff. But it certainly wouldn't. They have these meetings all year round, except for most of them don't do November because that's WASPIC, and May because that's WASPIC and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I will get the calendar up, and we will hopefully have all of the regional coordinators reach out and at least add maybe the next meeting within their regions or whatnot on there, so we can start getting some participation and prepping for future meetings. Does that sound fair?
Quick question for Brian. I know that most of the meetings for the sheriff's regionals or county sheriffs are there's not a lot on the calendar. They get together because they want to shoot the shit and hang out. So anybody who calls up and asks for 5 minutes is usually no problem. Or 15 minutes even.
Perfect. So Chief is listening. He can't speak for some reason, but he said that they meet monthly. That you are correct, Rex.
Yeah, always looking for something to fill some time.
Yes. So regional coordinators, any question on the documents, or if there's something that you don't have, the handbook is in there that was updated. All of the signature events are within there. But if you need something specific, please reach out and let me know. But I'd love to see more movement within that document being updated.
Hey, Ellie, I got a question.
Yes.
Hey, so the meetings you're talking about, are we talking, these are like law enforcement related meetings, or are we talking Kiwanis meetings and all that kind of stuff too?
I would say let's put everything in this calendar, because then we know what areas and community meetings we're already hitting. So let's say if Jeannie hits one, then that might spark an interest in Steve and Wenatchee, and he might want to reach out to that same group or reach out to Jeannie and try to get a contact. So I say the more information, the better. Does anyone else feel differently?
I agree
No,
with you.
no.
I've probably done 20 or 25 Kiwanis and others over the last couple of years, and they just love hearing these stories. So you won't have too much problem getting on their calendar. They're generally hurting for topics, and they'll give you like 20 minutes to come in, and there's a really good PowerPoint that I can share that's right off the international that I've tweaked for Washington that talks about LETR, what it is, how it works, blah, blah, blah.
Awesome. And just so everyone
That would
knows,
be cool.
within that Google Calendar or within the Google Doc, we do have a file that's specifically for presentations and videos, and it's already filled with a bunch of documents and things like that. So, Rex, if you want to share yours with me, I'll go ahead and add it to that as well as another resource.
Okay. I'll try to remember.
So
Yeah,
I do have a question about the Kiwanis.
Okay.
Is there like a state website that you can go to and find out where and what address and phone number for the Kiwanis?
Yes. If you search Kiwanis online, you'll find regional. There's about 8 or 9 regions around the state, and they've all got Facebook pages for access through Kiwanis International or Rotary International.
Christy, we can always talk offline, and I can tell you how we do ours at our Kiwanis group in Fife Mill and Edgewood.
That would be awesome, and because I think this calendar would be good too, because if Donovan's already doing Federal Way Kiwanis, that tells me, or Federal Way and Auburn are together, that tells me that he's already got that, and I can do something else.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Regional coordinators probably need to check with local agencies just to make sure they're not hitting them a second time, just because I do go out to my Rotary and my Kiwanis for a run with the cops, and that doesn't happen until a little bit, later in the year. So I just think so we're not double hitting them.
And a lot of times these Kiwanis groups already have budget lines for like the run with the cops, like Donovan's saying. Like my Kiwanis group has a budget line for Special Olympics, and they do that for Hooping for Heroes. So just make sure you call.
That's an interesting point, because I've been to all these meetings. I've never asked them for money or hit them up for cash. It's always been information. So I think what I'll make a note here to shoot an email to the groups to say, hey, remember me? I'd love some cash.
Well, the biggest thing too is they got to give them some time, because a lot of times, like what we do at our group is, if a group's coming in to ask, and once they know that they're being asked for money, then they usually, once the presentation is done the following week, they will probably either vote on it and then say, hey, do we want to do this or not? And the guys usually, they'll decide what they want to do. But like I have a budget line in Kiwanis now for Hooping for Heroes, and they give out money for that way. But you got to make sure you get on their board and ask them about, hey, I'm asking for, $200 or $500 for this cause or whatever. So.
And I think that hopefully this calendar will be a nice brief check-in of which groups we're already hitting and which ones we know to stay away from, and/or when you add your information on there, if you can put your name, so that, let's say, Christy knows she can reach out to Pat and talk about Kiwanis and what the relationship is and how the presentations go, to have that resource as well. Let's use this as a working document. Awesome. So I will get to building that and have it up by the next call. Polar plunge. So for those folks that participated in the Seattle Super Plunge last weekend, can you share your feedback?
It was cold.
It was very cold, but I have to tell you, The location was 100 times better than Golden Gardens. The building itself, it was more intimate because we were all closer together, so we could actually, feels like it was just, and the heat stayed in, and I think it was just a better venue. I think we actually hit more people at that location than we did at Golden Gardens because people go to Alki all the time. Golden Gardens in the wintertime seems to be more of a destination spot if they're going to go down there at all. That's my 2 cents.
Awesome.
I thought
Rex here. Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead.
I just thought it was a great event. I mean, I can't. There's nothing that I would change or, or do anything different. I thought it was really good, and I thought it was a great location. Parking is going to suck with all the 1,800 people down there, but if you're going to jump in the Seattle plunge, you're going to have to get there early. So, because parking is going to be a fill.
My only suggestion would have been to have a table outside with a computer right there to sign people up as they came and asked and said they were going to do it. I don't know if that would be beneficial, but sometimes when you get people in the heat of the moment, if you can get them signed up right then, it might, they have time to think about it when they leave.
Right. Yes. So I think that the number of people that were walking down along Alki and the kind of publicity that it brought was awesome. I don't think anyone was expecting that. I also think that hosting it on a Saturday was beneficial for that reason. We also had awesome weather. So glad to hear all of those things. And yes, there are a few things we would do differently, just like promote it a little bit more and have maybe a 10 by 10 outside with signing some folks up, or at least some rat cards or something to hand out to bring people back. And just to kind of address the parking issue a little bit, we are working with, we're trying to partner with a Lyft and an Uber and working with Metro to try to see if we can get a shuttle going. We use a company called Around the Sound in Tacoma. They require us to have a shuttle for that permit. So we're looking at reaching out to them, and there's a couple schools close by that we might be able to utilize for parking to kind of get that shuttle going. We're also working with the water taxi, and it sounds like they have agreed for free to increase their number of shuttles throughout that day.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah. So we recognize that problem, and we're going to do our best to kind of alleviate that prior to anything happening. So we got a month to figure it out.
So Ellie,
definitely get that out on Facebook and social media about transportation and parking as soon as we can, though, so we can blast people.
Yep, we are working on all those e-blasts.
Ellie, it's Rex. I loved the location. The camaraderie was great. Thank you all that were there. I thought it was wonderful. The only ad I would ask is if there were some way to do some more with media, because the 5 minutes that Q13 was there was nice, but I never found anything online. Maybe I missed it.
I do. Yeah, I'll talk to Jay and see if I can find the clip. I think she might have got it, but yeah, definitely. Media was a little disappointing. King 5 should have been there and was supposed to be there, but not sure what happened with them. It's the media, so you never quite know. But they're a sponsor of the Seattle specific plunge, so that was a big surprise to all of us. So yeah, definitely more media is on the list. So
perfect. Other than that, you know what? That was a hell of a lot of fun. Other than sitting around in salty, wet clothes, but that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So as everyone knows, we have the Tri-Cities event this weekend. These numbers were updated on the 7th, so we're still working on updating them. We update these every Monday. So here's all of the plunges, or all of the ones that we have: the goal, the participants, the team numbers, raised online, and revenue goal. So just so folks realize, we currently have, for the Tri-Cities as an example, we have 154 that was registered as of January 7th. Today, as of right now, we have, 251. So within a week, we went from 154 to 251. So as you can see, the week and a half or so leading up to these events, the numbers just skyrocket. So really, don't be alarmed when you see some of these lower numbers. We've partnered with a company specifically for Seattle. They're called Piranha Blonde. They do the mobile truck rodeo, and they just launched it on their Facebook and had 3,000 people that said they were coming to the Seattle event for the Winter Beer Festival, which is just the beer garden at the Polar Plunge. And so we'll actually see this turning over into, our numbers soon. We're still a month out, but anyway, so good numbers. We're working pretty hard to get that up there. Some of the smaller plunges take a little bit more time. So Wenatchee and Anacortes, we're working with them. Steve, will you let us know what you need in order to help promote and things like that? I know you have a great community over there.
Yeah, right now, I don't think there's a whole lot. The list that I got of all where the flyers were put up in businesses. But yeah, Carol's, we've got a large network here because of our parks department is the one that puts all that stuff on. So right now we're okay.
Okay, awesome. And just so folks know, for those of you that aren't on a local committee, part of the marketing budget for Polar Plunge this year went to not only printing the posters, but we also hired a company that went out and put 100 posters in local businesses of the cities that are hosting these plunges. So that was already done for us. We just got a report and pictures of what locations they were posted in. So that saved the committee and the local law enforcement time to then focus. We still got other posters printed and sent to the committees, but this allowed us some time to not have to focus on some grassroots like guerrilla marketing, which was done for us. So I hope.
Quick question on that.
Yes, Rex.
Sorry, that's really awesome. Is Starbucks one of our sponsors again this year?
They are not. Starbucks has decided that they are going to focus strictly on homelessness.
Oh, the homeless could use the shower. I mean, the bath would be nice, right? I'm just saying, because the reason I asked is if we could send those posters to Starbucks, they could put them up in all their shops, but you've answered that.
So we have some of the posters so each plunge got 100 that was posted. I think Seattle got 500, and we also did a wild marketing poster campaign for Seattle. So you'll see the much bigger posters up with like the different band posters and things like that throughout the city. That's a little bit different. We did have some staff and volunteers go kind of plaster West Seattle, specifically very close to Alki. So some of those Starbucks and stuff might have it, but Starbucks as a corporate sponsor will not be returning. We also will not have QFC and Fred Meyer returning. They are still involved, but they're focusing on healthy athletes and the food portion of that. And for those folks involved in the Tacoma Polar Plunge, Waste Connections has been a big sponsor, the title sponsor for years down at the Tacoma Plunge. They're no longer supporting the plunge. They want to take their money and put it towards spring games. So none of these organizations are really going away from Special Olympics. They're just kind of drifting from the Polar Plunge. So we're hurting a little bit in sponsorship because of that.
We still need that hot tub endorsement.
We do. I wish we could. So we did look into to Seattle, but with the permitting and the parks requirements, they pretty much said no. They didn't even really give us the requirements. They just said, no, this is what you would need. And it was, $1 million insurance is not out of the ordinary for us, but some of the other things were. And so, yeah, it just depends on location. We have them in the Tri-Cities. So, but they're definitely challenging. So anything fun that you guys think of that you want to add to a plunge, I'm happy to look into it. I'm all about, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? Anything else on Polar Plunge as we move on?
Ellie, what do the Seattle numbers look like right now?
Well, let's see. So this was as of the 7th. they were at 43,000 raised online, with 209 participants. But as of this morning, we were at 46,000 via Classy, which is our online registration site. Let's see. 47,272 registered. There are quite a few folks. So we're working with, I don't know if you folks remember the Fijis that always come down and they plunge at like 8 o'clock in the morning. We're working with them to try to get them to actually come at 1 to be part of this big world record breaking with us, and they've agreed to bring 50 down. So we're trying to work with them. They're also getting us into the Greek community, which is great. This also doesn't include any other funds that have been credited offline. So we have a check from like Seattle Police Guild for $1,500. And for those that were at the Super Plunge, know that the Octopus Bar in Seattle has been working with the Nearly Naked Norwegians, and they've been raising money for a year and have over $26,000 raised. That's not
Wow.
It's not included in this online number because they're going to keep the check until they hopefully hit their goal of 50 for this year.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So the numbers online can be quite deceiving.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we also, because LETR is awesome and we are always doing something, we have some Tipicops going on at the same time. Pat, do you want to talk about Tipicops a little bit, or you want me to do it?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so we have Old Spaghetti Factory reached out to me a couple months ago, and we've worked with them, and we are now going to be hosting a statewide Tipicop for them next Thursday on the 24th. We're pending a couple approvals of the flyers before we can truly send the information out, which has been a little frustrating, but they've been pretty easy to work with. They actually donated all of the lunch for the Super Plunge. And on Thursday from 4:30 to 8:30, they'll be hosting a Tipicop at all 5 locations: Linwood, Seattle, Tacoma, Vancouver, and Spokane. So all of them have athletes that are already confirmed. So this is a good partnership that we decided to do sooner versus later. The goal with these partnerships that we're creating is to not do them in October, mainly because those folks that have already had relationships with a Red Robin and or a local restaurant, because last year we didn't have Red Robin, so a lot of them reached out and created local partnerships. We don't want to ruin any of that, knowing that Old Spaghetti Factory and Red Robin and Buffalo Wild Wings, which is another one that's coming up, all have locations in similar areas. So Poor Linwood would be a great example that has all 3 of those restaurants. So we don't want to overwhelm any agency. So hopefully being able to spread these out throughout the year will be beneficial, and we'll still be able to promote October being Tipicop month. Old Spaghetti Factory is a little bit special because not only are we hosting the statewide Tipicop on the 24th, but in addition to that, that will be the traditional Tipicop. But on the 12th, February 12th, they'll actually be hosting another event for us, which is a percentage back night. So it's just 15% back between 4:30 and 8:30. Goes to Special Olympics if you present the flyer. That's includes alcohol, all dine-in meals. We're allowed to promote that event at our Tipicop. So this is kind of exciting for us because we can not only go around and do our community interaction and promote Olympics, but we can also provide them another opportunity at the same restaurant to give back again. So that's an exciting partnership that we've been working on. And then Buffalo Wild Wings, Pat has been working with me on this, and they have recently just agreed to do a statewide, at least Western, we're waiting to hear, it looks like possibly 10 locations on April 20th. And we'll be doing, that will be a full 8-hour day rather than just the 4. So as soon as we finalize that, we'll be sharing it with everyone. But it looks like that might be a traditional Tipicop in addition to an Eat Wings Raise Funds, which is their sort of percentage back, giving back program. So lots of movement on Tipicop, which is awesome.
Great.
Yay. Questions, comments, concerns on Tipicop?
Ellie, for the Old Spaghetti Factory locations, how are we going to staff those? Is it just going to be up to the local agencies to staff, or do we want to team up on those?
So we already have all of them staffed with their local agencies. Some have asked for support, which we've reached out to the regional coordinators in those areas. So Linwood is taking Linwood. I think Jay Hughes is taking the one in Spokane. We have Tukwila PD is hosting that one, but Christy and Leanne are working on getting some surrounding support. So we might be reaching out to Redmond for that one. Tacoma is led by Pat, but he's already reached out to Faircrest and Pierce County Sheriff. So we're trying to do this inclusively. We are having some issues in Vancouver. We've reached out to Battleground, Vancouver, and the Sheriff's Office. Brian Johnston is also helping us try to fill that. Worst comes to worst, we do have athletes, so we can turn this into an area fundraiser, but I hate to host a cop that doesn't have cops. So Brian Johnston has also reached out to some contacts he has right across the Oregon border. So if we need to pull from there, we can possibly do that as well. But if anyone has any local good friend contacts in the Vancouver area, I would love, love, love to chat with them.
And Ellie, I have not been able to get back to Luce. I'm going to send him an email again, but he has not gotten back.
Okay. All right. Well, and we can talk offline because I sent you another couple contacts that we can reach out to today and hopefully we might be able to support.
Okay.
Awesome.
And I just sent out the email on Friday to get sent out to the departments to help out on the Tippecanoe. Gave them
awesome.
an update on the power plunge and on the next item.
Perfect. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So the last item on the agenda today is the 2019 LETR shirt design competition. So that document has been sent out in the packets at the state conference. It will be in the Guardian that goes out next week. So it's also on the Google Docs. So hopefully folks are getting that information out to everyone. Donna, have you received any designs?
I have received none, but I am currently working on my submission.
Okay, so we'll have one at least. So this is a great opportunity to get agencies involved in another way. So whether it's like a campaign they want to start, if it's just someone locally, if they have someone who's artsy and creative. I mean, we still have a little less than a month, but a couple weeks for folks to get their designs in. So hopefully we get some good designs. If not, we will work with our designers that have done it in the past and we will get some things going. But thought this would be a nice social media fun campaign to get some attention to those agencies. So please try to push this if you can.
So Ellie, one thing you might want to try if you want to go sideways on this or approach it from a side is if you want to reach out to Eric Johnson from the Horde, his buddy Rick Clue, KLU, did some designs for their event last year and then did a t-shirt design for a guy that got hit by a car for a fundraiser not too long ago. He's a very talented artist. So maybe if you hit up Eric, he could reach out to Rick.
Okay. We can look into that for sure. The goal of this campaign would be for law enforcement to submit it, just to kind of get their social media involved because we'll be posting the 4 quote unquote winners online and do a social media campaign to kind of raise awareness online as well. So because we do have designers that we can work with that we've worked with in the past, but I will absolutely reach out to him just because Eric's great. So
yeah, I get that it's supposed to be law enforcement, but we're all lazy, obviously. So, or I shouldn't say all. A lot of our peers, present company excluded, are kind of lazy.
I had one person from our department contact me and say she's totally on it.
Cool, good.
There you go.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, this is just another one of those talking points with Polar Plunge and Tippecanoe that we can kind of bring up. There's always something going, something fun. So this is hopefully one of those more lighthearted things. So I'm sure we'll get some great designs. So even if we need to create them ourselves. It looks like that was all of the agenda. Does anyone have anything else that they want to add?
I just got one quick question. Who won the gun in Liberty Lake, and can I throw my ticket away?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Let me grab my phone and see if Chief will respond. Darren Morgan.
Okay.
So it looks like you are all set to. Chief, do you know how much you raised total from that? A little over $1,000, $1,100 raised through that raffle. That's awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Great work. What an awesome example of an LETR other event. Cool. Nicely done. Before we go, we have 10 more minutes, but well, 10 more minutes according to my computer and 1 minute according to my phone, so I'm not sure which one's right. But Mike Day, you just awesome event Saturday. Do you want to share really briefly about that?
Yeah, I can talk about it in a minute. It was kind of a new idea for trying to do a unique fundraiser just to bring people together to where they didn't feel like they were donating money. So Half Lion Brewery, it was a two-part event. The first part was kind of unplanned, where they did a Pints for the People. Anybody who showed up and showed their flyer, they donated 20% of the take, or at least that's what they say they're going to do. That was right before Christmas, so we're still waiting for that check to come in. The second half was what we just did this last weekend, which was crafts and drafts. That was really successful. The special needs students in the Sumner Bonnie Lake School District wound up making some art projects. Most of them are Special Olympics athletes, and they're my wife's 18 to 21 program that do the job skills. And those went up for auction, as well as some other what I'd call big ticket items. And we raised about $530 off of that. I have no idea how much they're going to wind up donating. Adam, who's one of the owners and brewmaster, was there, and they had all of the tables on about half the brewery set up for us. And he saw that it was full. I'd guesstimate that we had probably 30 to 35 people through the course of the night. But apparently they were also expecting us to show flyers on that, even though everybody was sitting at reserved tables, and nobody did. And the staff wasn't asking everybody. So he knows there are people there. He said he was going to make it right. I have no idea how much they're going to do. But all said and done, I think we're probably looking somewhere between 750, maybe even hit $1,000. So for just bringing people together, Rex came up. I have no idea how much he made doing his fleece sales, and his wife sold quilts. But regardless, it was a lot of fun. Between the two events, we probably had 50 to 60 people, and just new contacts, and they're looking forward to working with us. So it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So Mike, we sold Deb's 2 quilts and 1 blanket and a couple of hats. Everybody that donated to mine, it added up to $230 to my solar plunge for Abu Dhabi. It was a lot of fun. I gave away about another 20 items, just made sure to pick up the girls that were working that night and the ladies that were out in the.
Rex, it sounds like you're breaking up a little bit.
That's what I hear too.
Which is a nice way to say things.
Okay. Well, on that note, we will call the meeting. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I'll go ahead and send out all of the notes by the end of the week. And everyone, just let me know what you need. Please check those Google Docs. And thank you all very, very much for your time. And let's go spread the word about Polar Plunge.
Great meeting, Ellie. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Ellie, can I talk to you real quick?
Yep, I'll stay on.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.